Mike Golic with Armen Levack on 104.5 The Team, your home for New York sports. Golic, thanks for joining us today. How you doing, man?
I'm doing wonderful. Pleasure to be here.
Oh, absolutely. And, of course, you and Greeny are giving listeners the chance to experience the ESPYs. We'll get to that in just 7 minutes. But first, Bills or Jets, Golic? Both teams have made a lot of moves in the offseason. Which moves and which team has better improved themselves this offseason?
Wow, boy, that is a great question. I guess when you say one of the moves involves the best player at his position, and that would be Darrelle Revis, you might lean toward them, though we'll see what LaShawn McCoy brings. They both have excellent... If you ask me who the better team is, quite honestly, I think I'd lean toward the Bills. Overall, but as far as the better moves, when you can get a guy like Revis, we know that Rex was a aggressive defensive coach, and he takes that to Buffalo with an excellent defense. Todd Bowles was the most aggressive coach as far as blitzing was concerned last year when he was with Arizona. And one thing you need if you're going to blitz and bring pressure is you need corners that can shut down and cover, and they got one in Revis. So as far as the offseason is concerned, because they got Revis, you lean toward them.
Golic, when you bring up Rex Ryan, he's in Buffalo now. He's making the comments about Jason Morrow, and I heard him and I went, wow, he sounds a lot like Buddy Ryan all of a sudden. Do you see similarities?
Oh, God, heck yeah. How can you not? They're father-son. I mean, listen, Rex speaks his mind. As a player, you like play, especially as a defensive player, you like playing for Ryan because they love the defensive side of the ball. Now, if you're an offensive player, maybe not so much because you don't really get to expand your game a ton because they like to win by defense. But, you know, he's always been a coach that speaks his mind. His brother is Rob as well, and certainly his dad was. So, you know, you kind of take on that personality as well. So, yeah, that doesn't shock me at all, any of the things he says, and especially guys on the defensive side of the ball, they love playing for him.
Golic, how much was that his fault, Rex's fault in New York? You know, the Amaro, the Willie Colon stuff coming out, it makes us kind of raise an eyebrow and say, did he really lose control of the team? How much should we doubt what he did last year in New York?
Well, I think you have to understand this, and Marty Schottenheimer had said this years ago. He said, you know what, when players know you don't own the locker room anymore, it's very difficult to have the locker room. And Marty was telling it more in the sense of if a coach has been around like a decade or so, sometimes their talks become white noise. Well, this is a different situation. This is a GM who didn't bring in the coach. You knew the coach wasn't going to be back unless there was going to be a lot of wins, and you knew there wasn't going to be a lot of wins. Hence, the coach has lost his power. So the players really aren't, you know, in that specific situation, they know the person they have to please is above Rex Ryan because Rex isn't going to be there next year. So that makes for a bad situation. The Jets put themselves in that bad situation. Quite honestly, they should, when they brought in the new GM, they just should have fired Rex at that point and let the GM hire a coach and start over again. It's tough, really, really tough to do that kind of mix that they tried last year.
Mike Golic with Armen Levack on 104.5 The Team, your home for New York sports.
You know, as your home for New York sports, Golic, we sit here and we see the Tim Tebow signing. We see the potential scheduling of Eagles versus Jets, Eagles versus Bills. Is that something we should be licking our chops about, or is Tebow even going to make this roster?
Oh, I think the last thing we worry about is the Tebow effect in a game right now. I mean, the Eagles made plenty of other moves where we're going to see every down effect on the field. The move with Tebow, listen, it's a 90-man roster right now. Chip Kelly has a plan. The game has turned a little more towards specialization. We may see a different routine for extra points, which may lead more to two-point conversions. And think about this. Teams that have, you know, franchise quarterbacks, you're never taking them off the field. You know, you're never doing that in Denver. You're not doing that in New England. You're not doing that in New Orleans. You're not doing that in Green Bay. You're not bringing in a different quarterback to run, you know, a spread option in a situation. In Philly, they don't have that quarterback. Tebow's not going to start, but what Tebow can do on the goal line and short yardage, he can be that type of a quarterback because you can specialize a little more. So that's I think what Chip is going to. To me, there's going to be no threat of Tim Tebow being the starting quarterback or the backup quarterback in Philadelphia. He's going to be you're going to experiment with how you can use him to your advantage in certain offensive situations because you don't have that franchise quarterback that you say we can't take him off the field. You have quarterbacks that you can pull off the field, let Tebow go get you a couple of yards if you need, and then go back to the other quarterback.
Golic, Todd McShay in his latest mock draft says that the Jets picked Todd Gurley with the number 6 pick. Should NFL teams be picking a running back that early in the draft in this day and age?
That's tough. You just probably the best time to get a running back, quite honestly, is that initial contract. Those first rounders like that, 4 years with an option, so it could be 5 years. That you have a guy, and that's probably when he produces the most, and they're playing for that second contract. If they do well, they can get a big second contract, but then that starts to get them closer to 30, that magic number for running backs. Seems a little high. It seems like if that's the guy you want, then if you could you could pop back a little bit, a couple spots here, acquire some draft picks and still get your guy. That's the whole thing right now, what's going on. There's so much misinformation going on about targeting a guy. Is it Gurley if he's there? And he'll probably be there, but if he's at 6, does that mean you could still get him at 10? So maybe you do a move to drop back. Or is there a different guy that you know you have to get at 6? That's what it comes down to, what your draft board says. But it might be a little high, which would lead to, but it's easy to say a team wants to fall back in the draft, but you got to find someone that wants to come up in the draft. But when you're talking about a couple of spots, you might be able to pull it off a couple of times, drop back a couple of times, and still get the guy you want.
Now, speaking of moving up in the draft or picking somebody too early, you got the Bills with E.J. Manuel. They're still kind of feeling the repercussions of grabbing him early. With him in Buffalo and with Geno Smith in New York for the Jets, when do you know it's time to move on from a guy that you thought was going to be your franchise quarterback?
Well, listen, in this day and age, these guys come out and they play basically right away. It's almost unfair to expect a lot of them right away. Back in the day, guys used to sit for a little bit, but you got to see what happens to them this year. Listen, if they get beaten out, it's another year of no development. Think about that. If they get beaten out by other quarterbacks, then they're sitting and there's no development again for another year. So how is that guy even going to be in the thought process of being your franchise quarterback? So if they can get on the field this year, this is the year to kind of prove what they're going to do and say, okay, we're going to keep going forward with them, or we're going to go in another direction. The good part is you maybe don't have to make the decision as quick as because there's not as much money involved. Before the new CBA came out, when these rookies were getting all that money, it was a financial destruction for you if you had to get rid of a quarterback. Here it's not as bad if you have to get rid of one because the money's not as much as it used to be.
Mike Golic with Armen Levack on the team. Golic, JPP, not at Giants, voluntary, quote-unquote, voluntary workouts. This guy, we've had Giants players tell us he's the leader of the defense now that they've let a lot of veterans go. Does it hurt his leadership? Does it hurt his learning curve with new defensive coordinator Steve Spagnuolo? What gets done around the facilities this time of year?
Listen, you like everybody there. You only be on the field. They're working out and running, with the strength coach. They're not doing things on the field. At this point, there are certain times where you have the OTAs where you actually do field work, and then obviously you have your mini camps as well. So would you like him there? Yes. But he's also a vet. And if you're confident, and the players know him better than anybody, and if they're not going to question it, then that's all that matters, because he's the ones they're playing for. Sure, the coaches want everybody there all the time. The coaches would want everybody there the day after the season ended if they had their way. That's how much they want to, and I understand that from a coach's side. But from a player's side, the off seasons are so much longer now, and guys kind of do their own thing and work out their own way. Again, in this age of specialization, these guys have their own strength guy, their own trainer. They do their own running routine, and as long as you trust him to come in shape and be ready to play when he has to, that's really all that matters.
All right, Golic, you are the face of Cleveland to me. How crazy, insane is that place going to go if LeBron returns and brings them a championship?
Listen, all you have to say is 1964. I was 2 years old the last time they had a championship, and it wasn't even a Super Bowl. It was an NFL championship. I think they beat the Colts 27-zip. You got to dust off that trophy or that tape to look at. I know they were close. The Indians, in '97 went to Game 7, and certainly LeBron had him in the finals when he was in Cleveland the first time, only to get smoked by San Antonio. But listen, this is what he came back for. This is the cool thing. This was the sentimental thing of why I think people have kind of come back to LeBron and kind of where he went to Miami as a villain, now has gone back to Cleveland as this sentimental favorite. And people say, if my team's not going to be in it, I'd like to see him win it. Not because he went home, but you add in the fact that Cleveland, unfortunately, it's my hometown, so I can say it, has been kind of a sad sack as far as championships are concerned. So they would party there like it was 1999, or I guess more specifically 1964, if they were to win a title.
Mike Golic with Armen Levack, of course, of Mike and Mike. And Golic, you and Greeny, man, can continue to raise the bar on the experiences that you give our listeners, the Mike and Mike experience at the ESPYs. Tell us what you guys are cooking up now.
4 weeks, we have a word of the day, and you have to register each day, and each week we have one winner. So you have 4 winners, and all 4 win, and they get to take a guest. And we're going to send it to the ESPYs, where you're going to get a private tour of the ESPN's LA studios, behind-the-scenes preview of the ESPYs production. You get to walk the red carpet, VIP seating for the ESPY Awards, and then you get to go hang out to the pre-party and the after-parties as well. So it's very, very cool. You're getting to hang with all the big. This is like the Oscars for sports. So all the big-time sports guys are there, guys and girls. So you get to hang out with them, and you can call 855-ESPN-WIN. You can text to 7770. And you can click on ESPNradio.com. You can enter all those ways. You can enter 3 times by all those different ways. They have a chance to go to the ESPYs, and you're going to get treated just like you were walking the red carpet.
That's awesome. Listen for the Mike and Mike winning word for the Mike and Mike experience at the ESPYs, exclusively from Greeny and Golic at 104.5, the team ESPN Radio. Golic, what do you wear at the ESPYs? Do you go tux?
Yeah, Greeny and I have done a show there a few times on the red carpet, and we have gone tux. Yes, we have. I've gone tux. And usually the times they're out there is really hot, so I wasn't really a fan of that. But it's really cool to see everybody get dressed up. Some people clean up well, and then others, like myself, well, maybe not so much.
Yeah, I hear you, man. It's just so uncomfortable.
Too bad you don't have that Masters jacket, because you just rock that, and then you stay cool underneath.
I'd never take it off.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Golic, we're at Center Street Pub right now in Schenectady. What's your sports bar food? Are you a wings guy?
I'm a wings guy, without question. I'm a wings guy in any kind of beer. I'll ask the server there, is there a great local that you like? Then I'll take that, because I'll drink anything with barley and hops in it. I have no problem with that. And yeah, I usually go with wings and a lot of them.
You go spicy?
I go kind of mild.
Yeah.
I don't ruin my. Well, I eat so many that by the time I'm done, I'd have a gallon of hot sauce in my gut, which probably wouldn't work well for anybody around me.
My co-host over here, he took one bite of a blazing wing at Buffalo Wild Wings and cried for a day.
Out.
Yeah,
I'm done.
It's a tough call.
Yeah. Mike Golic of Mike and Mike, the Mike and Mike experience at the ESPYs. Golic, we love you, baby. Good talking to you, man.
All right, guys. Thanks.